I think for you, like your friend who was in MIT was the factor
Mhm.
that you even think about
Yes.
going for the Yale or MIT or Cornell.
Yale's admissions are one of the first to come out of any other schools, but that was the first one to come. I was like, oh, that is great because I mean, top school.
Can you share us your portfolio that got you into Yale?
Yes, there it is.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to My Art Stories podcast. And today we have Felix. And it's going to be a very different experience talking with Felix because I've never talked with someone who is from Yale. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, he's from Ghana. And also, like, I haven't talked with anyone from Africa, the continent itself. So hopefully, I will learn a lot, and then you guys will also learn a lot. And now I will give it to Felix. Can you please introduce yourself to My Art Stories audience?
Yes, hello, my name is Felix. Um, uh, s- well, I'm from Ghana, so fully Ghanaian, and I am currently a master's student at the Yale School of Architecture. Yes, is that what we need to talk about right now?
What is that?
Oh, I was like, is that all we need to know about me in the start at least?
I mean, you can tell more, like whatever you want to. We are just having conversation. It's fine.
Okay, okay. So, just a little background. So I grew up in Ghana. I've been in Ghana my whole life until like 2 years ago when I moved to the US. But yeah, I mean, just like anyone, you go through, your normal school education, from nursery, kindergarten, your early phase, primary school, high school. So it was high school where like I started like high school is where everyone has to start deciding or like start thinking about what they want to become in future, and that is when I started thinking. And I was very like interested in drawing and cartoons and things like that. So I wanted to be at some point I wanted to be a cartoonist or a designer. But my parents, if you're from like a third world country, they're like, no, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer. And cartoonist in a third world country is really not the best profession to start with. Yeah, you would just not be paid enough. So I guess I had to like think about something more professional. That was like literally when I was going into senior high school, and that's I don't know what that grade level is in the US, but it's usually the age range is like 16 to 18. That's the phase. So I had like a couple of talks with some teachers in my high school, and they were like, "Well, if you want to go into something, do something that you love, something that doesn't seem like work when you're like doing." It." So, and I already love drawing, so I was like, "Okay, then I think whatever profession I decide to take should be, geared or in that line, I should be like see, drawing here and there or something like that." So then I started looking up professions that involve drawing. And interestingly, I mean, there was architecture. I had heard about it here and there, but like I didn't really know what it was about. So over there, like I said, do my research, and I felt like, well, this profession seems, interesting. And funny enough, like even when I was like let's say 10 to 15 years around that age, I was drawing a lot. I was making a lot of like comic books, artworks, and things like that. I mean, nothing too impressive, but for my age, I think it was good. And along with that, I was also actually doing interior design because, a boy could only dream about having a gaming set and a nice, big flat screen TV. So you find me like drawing my room and then drawing in like the furniture and the chair and then things I wanted to be in the room. So kind of like, interior design.
Mhm.
So after reading about architecture in my senior high school, I was like, well, maybe this is what I want to do. But to do that, you have to study, like math, physics, chemistry. So I went in to study like general science. So I know a little bit, like I know a lot, about scientific knowledge as well. So,
Mhm.
and then in the university, that's when I applied to, that was university, um, how do I put this? It's called the Kwame Nkrumah University of Ghana. That's where I attended college. And that is where I moved into architecture. First year, First year was like any architecture school, introduction, sketches. They teach you orthographic drawing and things like that. Second year, it becomes more intensive. That's where you go into like building, and then they start teaching you, walls and yeah. Oh, I'm sure most of the people on this podcast will understand what I'm talking about. And fast forward, third year, fourth year. So my school or the school that I attended in Ghana, it's a 4-year program, Bachelor of Science. So you have to write like a dissertation after that. And then you can extend it to do your master's, which is a 2-year. So you can like literally like flow into the 2-year program. But when I got to my fourth year, I mean, there was a friend, he's called Courage. He was in MIT at that point. He was 2 years ahead of me. So when I was in second year, he was about to complete. And when I completed my second year, we all heard that, oh, Courage was in MIT, doing his, I think he's doing Master of Science or something. I can't remember. But then I was like, whoa, if Courage, someone in Ghana going all the way to the US to like a really top school to study architecture, I was like, well, if he could do it, then we all can do it. So from second year, I started thinking like, how can I, better myself, put myself in a position where I can also be, up there or like apply to these schools and be accepted. And so from then, every work I started doing, I started like doing it. I started putting my whole heart in it, putting all the hours and all the work that I needed to put to do the work to my satisfaction. Yeah, so I made a conscious effort to, every studio assignment I was given, I decided to do it to like the maximum, put all my effort into that, and then feel like, yes, this is the level at which I want my work to be. So fast forward fourth year, final year, we were writing our dissertation, and we had technically finished all the other courses, but I think there was still a month where we have to stay in school, refine the dissertation, and then send it to the lecturers for them to review, and then I think we can graduate. So during that phase, I was like looking up schools, that I was going to apply to, and I mean, already since my friend or my senior was in MIT, I was already thinking like top schools that I would be in. So I was thinking Yale, I was thinking MIT as well, I was thinking UC Berkeley. Those are the three main schools, like three top schools. And then, I mean, if you're going to apply to a school in the US and you really want to leave, you also have to like get a safety net school. So basically, a school that is like lower stakes, and you know that you're likely to get in if you don't, hit the one. So you aim for the, sky. If you if you miss, you fall on clouds. So that was the idea. And then, so that was 2022 November, actually October. That's when I started like looking at these schools, applying, checking their requirements. And applying to school is actually not difficult. That's not the difficult part of the whole process. That's actually the easiest. So, and it's as simple as just going to the school. You have to know what you want, and then go to the school's website, look at the requirements, look at what they need from you, what essays do you have to write, what documentation do you need to provide. It's all there. You don't need to, pay anyone to go and check that thing for you or write that for you. So that's what I did, and I was applying to. So I started like writing my essays catered, and your essays have to be catered towards the schools because every school is looking for something specific. It's You can't really write one essay and then just change the name and send it to everyone. Sometimes you can, especially if the schools are similar, but more often than not, it's not that's not the case. So I did that. Yale was actually one of the last schools I applied to because Yale required me to write 3 essays. I was like, 3 essays? I don't have time to write 3
The
essays.
essay is about what?
3 essays about, so one was personal statement, what every school writes that. And then the other one was more specific. The other 2 were more specific. So one was about, they told me to write an essay. They said, if you were to design a monument, where would you design it and why would you design it?
That's an
Or
interesting
no,
prompt.
where would you design and what will you design? Yes. And then So that was the first one. The second one was where do we think, or what do you think about architecture, and what are the promises or importance that you think architecture has or can do for society and the world? So those were the two extra essays that we had to write. I can't remember what I had to write for MI. I think MIT was still just SOP and personal statement, statement of purpose, and the personal statement are two different things, by the way.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, what's the difference between
Yes,
statement of purpose and personal
because
statement?
yeah, that's a very interesting question. Because the funny thing is that some schools require you to write a personal statement, and they'll give you an extra maybe essay to write something about, like I said with the Yale one. Some schools also will request you to write a personal statement and a statement of purpose. And you're like, aren't they like the same thing? But a personal statement is more about you and your life story, and then like, what brought you to where you are. And I'll say a statement of purpose is more about what you want to do, why do you want to come to the school, what do you think the school can offer you, and what do you want to do, in the future, like with this knowledge that you're going to learn. So that's like the distinction.
Mhm.
If you go online, you get more clear, but generally, like really high level face value of it, that is the difference between the two. Um, yeah, so I wrote all the essays I needed, got all the documentations, and then applied to the schools. So that's at December, end of December, and I was checking the Yale deadline, and I'm like, three essays. I don't want to write three essays. But I had a friend who was also applying to schools in the US, and he was like, oh, he's also applying to, Yale, and he has seen the essays, but he thinks it's fine. So I started writing the essays, and then I submitted literally like a day to the deadline to Yale, and that's the interesting thing. I feel like most of the things in my life, it's the one that I don't really, think about, or like I really do last is what I like get. So yeah, like even Corgan was like one of the last, firms that I applied to and I got
So
in.
yeah, by the way,
So
everyone listening right now, so he is currently doing his internship at Oregon, and I sit next to him. So yeah, that's how we
yeah,
ended up meeting, and then this podcast is happening right now.
yes. All right. So January, I think Yale's admissions are one of the first to come out of any other schools. Um, Yale, so I got the admission. Came out in end of January, like I think early February, and or no, sorry, I think it was late February instead. I can't really remember honestly, but that was the first one to come. I was like, oh, that is great because I mean, top school. I have admission. Um, like that is it, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so now so the thing with schools right now in the US is they don't give you scholarships. Like you can't apply for a scholarship before you get the school. You have to get a school and then apply for a scholarship. So I got the school now. What I needed to think about was the scholarship. And around the time I started like looking on their website, contacting the schools, financial aid, admission, like financial aid department, and then they sent me some links to put my information. So you usually put information about your parents, about yourself. They'll want to know about bank statements and things like that. What your parents do, assets, liabilities, mostly assets though.
Mhm.
So I did all that. I submitted the form, and around the same time, I think MIT came in. MIT was like, "Oh, sorry, we couldn't like, you know how the story like those messages go." And I got admission from UC Berkeley as well. But again, you have to apply for scholarship separately, as well as Northeastern. And I think I added University of Minnesota, but I even forgot about that school. That was like my safety net school, actually. I got admission from all these schools, and University of Minnesota and Northeastern contacted me, and I was like, they gave me like 20% or 40% scholarship. And I was like, it's too low. I cannot, I need full tuition. And I think both of them increased it to 60%. So don't be afraid to ask the schools that you want
Yeah.
more money.
That's
Always don't tell
that's
them,
how it
yeah.
works out. Because even for me, so initially Iowa
Hmm.
State only offered me 25% tuition scholarship. That is also
Hmm.
on the resident tuition fee. And then I
Yeah.
just told them outright that, okay, with this scholarship, I cannot come. I cannot afford it. If you can offer me something better, then I can think about it. And then later on, they came back and then gave me like the 50% on the resident tuition. So 50% on resident tuition is still affordable because you are just paying like 3,500 per semester, and
Hmm.
which is like far low from 15 to $18,000 for international student per semester, right? So yeah, that's a really good point. Like you gotta vouch for yourself. You gotta talk with them.
Yeah. And another good way to do that is if you've applied to multiple schools and you have like an offer, scholarship offer from those schools, you can use that as leverage,
Yeah,
to like blackmail
yeah,
the schools. Like, well, I really want to come to your school,
yeah.
but I just cannot afford it. And this school is giving me 70% scholarship. So I might as well like just go there. And then they'll be like, oh, if you're lucky, usually like I'd say like 60, 70% of the time, they will say, fine, we'll give you the same 70% or we'll give you like a little bit extra.
Hmm.
And then you can go to the school you want. Yeah. So that's what happened. But I mean, I think after they sent that email, a few days later, Yale also sent the scholarship they were giving me, which was 100% tuition. So it's actually two scholarships. One is a dean scholarship, which is I think it's about 15,000 or so, and then the rest is like they call it professional something something scholarship. Sorry, I can't remember the full name, and that's the rest. And the full tuition is actually $85,000 to for a year. So it's really really expensive to study at Yale.
Hmm.
And granted, because they have like a lot of resources that you can use for yourself.
So one
Um,
question. So are you
yeah.
getting scholarship for your whole degree or just for the 1 year, and then they will reevaluate and give it to you later? So how is that working?
No, so that's the good thing. That's the good thing because once you get the scholarship in the first year, however amount you get, you it's likely to repeat like second and third year or however long you're going to stay.
Hmm.
They'll give you the same amount, and I think that's one thing that Yale is good at. And it's a good question because my friend, the one who was also applying to Yale, he also got it by the way. We all went to the same school, so that was really nice. Someone from Ghana from the same class as you, and you both go there. So in the first since we went till now, we have been basically together, navigating our way through, the ups and downs of the US.
Hmm.
But what I was going to say was that he applied to Cornell as well. He also got Cornell. I think he got like 60% scholarship, and then he used Yale's thing as a leverage, and they gave him 100%. But there
Hmm.
was a condition to it. So like you were saying, that they'll reevaluate it and then see if they'll still give him like the 100% in the subsequent years. Plus, he has to keep a certain academic standard for them to keep paying that amount of money.
Hmm.
So there were like a bit more terms and conditions applied to those. So I'm sure some of you may experience that depending on the school that you're going. There'll be terms and conditions applied to the scholarship. Yale didn't explicitly put anything there. It just said you've been offered this, and usually that's what you'll be given the remaining years that you'll be studying.
Hmm.
Yes, and part one was done. School, I had my admission. Now, how do I get to the US?
Hmm. So
And
one interesting thing that I feel is um, like I think for you, like your friend who was in MIT was the factor
mhm,
that you even think about
yes.
going for the Yale or MIT or Cornell. And I think back in Nepal, I don't think there are many people who went for scholarship in those kind of colleges. And
Hmm.
that was the whole point of bringing you in the podcast for me, because I just felt like there are so much talent in Nepal as well who could actually get into these kind of colleges, and they don't really have the knowledge of the scholarship. Like they can get 100% tuition as well. It's just
Hmm.
like you just have to know that it's available, and you need to do a little bit more research on the scholarship.
Yeah.
And then first is getting in. And to get in, like you said, you gotta work on your portfolios and then your SOP, personal statement. So we will get into your portfolio a little bit later, but I'm just interested to know about like, so this whole Yale thing, like now, what's the perception of people towards you who are from Ghana? Like, what do they think about you that you got into Yale, and uh, what's the like normally when we look at these kind of colleges, it's like, oh, this guy must be really talented and stuff. So,
Hmm.
what's the perception there?
Yeah, I think off the bat, I'll say that you do have to have some sort of uniqueness to you to go into this skill to go into these schools. But the whole point is, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world. You don't have to be the best in your class. You don't have to have, you know, you don't have to know how to speak, the best English in the world to be able to get into these schools. Yes, these schools are, really top tier, like, creme de la creme of, everything. But honestly, if you play your cards right and you do the right things, you can get into anyone can get into those schools. You just have to be very determined and to like you were saying, because those schools are really high. Once you get there, people see you in a certain light. People are like, whoa, like literally yesterday I went to play football. We are coming back and then we are just talking with um the football group, and then someone's like, "Oh, what school do you go to?" I was like, "Yo, like Yale. Wow, how did you get there?" I was like, "Are you like the smartest in like Ghana?" I'm like, "I am definitely not the smartest in Ghana. Even in my own class of like 60 people, I'm probably like 15th, or like there are people that are really really smart, but you have to be like all rounded in a way so that you're not lacking in certain aspects." And I think that's one good thing that I took with me generally. So you have to be like a jack of all trades, right? Don't be fixated on one thing, because people also need people who can do multiple things, who are like
Mhm.
multi-personal in a way. What's the other question?
Um, Actually, I don't remember. I'm really bad
But
with
I
the,
think
yeah,
it
anyway.
was along the lines of
Mhm,
yeah, how people see you in school.
mhm.
Definitely that perception about you changes. And then the good thing is that once you do it, people are also people, especially people who are close to you, are like, oh, well, he was close to me. I saw what he was doing. And you become like, motivation for people to also try for schools like that. Because literally when we left the following year, like students from my school in Ghana, like the lower years, were all contacting me on Instagram. Oh, Felix, I'm trying to apply to schools. Can you help me? I'm trying to go to I'm trying to go to what's Cornell. I'm trying to go to this, and then they're all like, help me. What do I do? What did you do? So yeah, it happens. People, you
One
become like
thing.
a beacon that people look up to.
Mhm. So one thing I want to know is like, what do you think that made you different from other? Like, it's just your opinion. That what do you think that make you different from other, and that could have potentially got into Yale? What do you think that was
I
that factor?
I think it's not even about a design thing or no things something related to school. I think it's more of like a mental notion. Like I would try and find out, if you tell me something, I'll be like, okay. But then I'll also try and find out what exactly it is and how exactly it works. And that's one thing about me. I feel like so many people, I don't know, I can't say for other parts of the world, but so many people in Ghana at least always want to be spoon fed. They always want you to tell them, do the step one, step two, step three, step four, and they will never make the effort to, look into something like that themselves and then try and figure out how it works. I think that's the main thing that keeps, deterring people away from opportunities like, you know, going to Yale or even other opportunities in general. People just do not like to search for themselves and then pry and then research. And I think that's the main thing. I think that's the only thing that really differentiated me from people in my class. People heard that my senior had gone to MIT. I'm sure some people were like, "Oh, how did he get there? Oh, he's smart." Well, he was smart. Already in the school, he was smart. He was producing really like good work. So people just associated it to that. That well, I'm sure he has really good work. That's why MIT accepted him, and that might be true. But then also he will also always look into something and see how he can also get there if he wants to get there. And I think that's the main thing. You don't get me wrong, you do need to have like, like work of standard, up to a certain standard. But then you also need to, but on your own, be very inquisitive about things like that and then make the effort.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense because, like, if you are targeting for the big universities, then definitely there is a standard of work that you need to put on.
Hmm.
And even
Yeah.
the standard of the work, it's mostly like you need to have a little bit of uniqueness as well. And so here's the difference between the portfolio that you use for the academic and for the professional. So like when you're applying for the job or internship, your portfolio needs to illustrate a little bit more of a professionalism and show them like, okay, you know how the things are built. I won't say built actually, but moreover like you need to have the professional standard for a portfolio, like having consistency and a little bit of a clear
Hmm.
quality. But when you're applying for school, it needs to have that factor, which is more like maybe you have something that will differentiate your portfolio from others. So you gotta
Exactly.
brush up on those things, and that's why like
Yeah.
I feel like your portfolio from school could be different from your professional portfolio when you are applying for
No.
the internship. So
Yeah.
now we are
Definitely.
talking about portfolio. Can you share us your portfolio that got you into Yale?
Oh, the one that got me into Yale. Oh my God. Hold on. Do I even have that one here?
I mean, if you don't have that, we can actually go through your another portfolio as well, because like I assume most of your projects were there even in that portfolio,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. There it is.
Okay, yeah. So would you
Yeah.
like to talk about your portfolio? We can just go through like one of your best project that you like.
Best. Well, I have a lot of projects that I like, so I guess I'll
So
just.
give me your best one.
Okay. Let's see. So this is my Yale portfolio. This is just so this is what I used to apply to firms as well,
Mhm,
but it's also where I keep not all my works, but mostly Yale works, and then some undergrad works that I was like I really liked. Like
mhm.
this is one of my undergrad works, final year,
Yeah, let's
and
talk
this is a
about
train
this because
terminal.
I really like this project because also this
Mhm.
is your undergrad project, and I assume you might have used this to apply to Yale, right?
Yes, yes, I used this to apply to Yale. This was, I think this might have been the first project on the portfolio. And on that note, when you are applying to schools, you need to, leave, a mental image. You have to put something there that immediately like piques interest. So both in your SOP and in your portfolio. So for instance, my SOP in the beginning, I didn't write, oh, I didn't start with, oh, my name is Felix. I'm from this. No, no, no. I told this I wrote it like I was telling a story, and I think I can still remember what the first lines were. It was like, imagine being in a 4x4, square foot home. This. It was actually 4x4 meters.
Mhm,
American their imperial system. So imagine being a 4x4 meter square foot home, no windows. This. Put like set the tone, put it in, let them wonder what is this guy get into, and it will pick interest and actually let them read the whole SOP. I'm telling you, not everyone reads the entire. Some people read like the first half and they're like, this person is not serious, and then let's move to the next one. So always put it, like in a story form. Always tell a story, both in like your portfolios and in your essays that you write. It always like engages people and keeps them on them more to like be able to. They want to like read and actually understand what this person is trying to say. And yeah, so this was the portfolio I used to apply. Sorry, this is the Yale portfolio. The portfolio I used to apply to Yale was actually less glorious than
mhm,
this. It was more cluttered. I feel like you can do better. But I mean, if I got in with that portfolio, then again, anyone can get in as well. I will try and pull out that one later on just to show you what it looks like. But it wasn't this clean.
mhm,
But yes, this was one of the projects in my undergrad. Usually, I always have like an icon, just to sort of like give a little glimpse of what I was thinking about on the project while I was designing it. And they're really short. No one really reads these things. Even this is very short, but I swear that out of like 100% of people who have looked at my portfolio, probably only 2% have read, and only read on projects that they think are interesting.
yep,
So always keep
exactly.
your narratives very short. No one is going to read it. Don't write a lot. No, I'm telling you, no one is going to read it. Even think to yourself, if someone shows you that portfolio, how many times you actually go, into the subtext and read what the thing is about unless you're really really interested. And yes, keep it short. Put like 6 to 10 words on a line max, and then that way it really like engages people as well. um if you're applying to school as well as work, put in like a variety of things. Don't put in the same thing. Everything that goes on the portfolio should have a reason. Like, why am I putting this there? If I have a ground floor plan and a first floor plan, why am I putting both on the same sheet? Maybe the ground floor plan is just alone is just good enough to explain the whole project. You don't. One thing that I also struggled with when applying to Yale was putting everything that I've done. I'll put every section. I want to put every plan. Which, no, don't do that. Put one plan and one section or two sections. Sections are very important. Sections actually explain the work more than plans do sometimes. So do that. Look at it. Look for the minimal amount of information you can put on the page, but then can communicate the most out of your project. And in this case, there's an overall image that basically tells you, yes, this is a train station. These are the platforms. This is how people move from the left to the right side. And already you have a general idea of the configuration just in this image alone. And then you have like um an aerial plan or a master plan that like looks at the whole site, and then already you can already tell where the shot was taken from and things like that. And then on the right you can have your one plan that sort of like describes the program, and then you're good. And then you have a section um showing the whole thing, how it works, as well as uh you can have some elevation. This wasn't necessary, I just had a space so I just put it there. But then you should definitely have axles are also really good. And again, details you need to show, especially when you're applying to work for for a job. You need to show some technical knowledge. So you need to show that you understand how things can be built or things come together. And this is one thing that someone so Srijan knows this person, Zach, in the firm Corgan where we work. He always talks about this and the details, and it's like these details are very specific to the project. So it's really interesting to see that someone understands that you cannot have the same detail apply to every project, and some details are very unique, and then they need to be thought through and understood. So showing that kind of skill that you have is also really important, both in school and in work as well. And then some interior shots. This was the second undergrad project that I also put on. And again, the same thing. I have sketches just communicating, how I arrived at my form. Usually I always have an icon there just to give a glimpse of, what the project is about. And these were learning pods, very simple projects. This was in COVID, so they needed us to design these small pods that can hold like, maybe 3 to 4 students and a lecturer, just for the whole social distancing isolation thing. And yeah, there's as the same very unique details of how certain things work in the project. I have my axe on just to show the overall thing. Already, this render basically shows the whole thing. So I didn't really need any aerial, how do I put it? Uh, Aerial plan, sites plan to describe that. And this is
Mhm.
just a plan, and this I think shows enough. And then you have some interior redness, and then that's it. You really don't need too much, to describe your project, as long as you have the really key elements that talks about your project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what I could derive like most important stuff from your portfolio is like first is consistency. So like from both of your
Hmm.
project, I could see it
Yeah.
being very consistent in terms of like putting the sketches and putting the key renders, and then
Hmm.
some kind of a repeat of the pattern as well. Like you have used the plans and then after like um, using the details. So there is some kind of a
Hmm.
consistency throughout the project, uh, different
Yes.
projects. And after that, you also have used white space very properly. And then
Hmm.
everything put there are intentional. Like you don't
Yeah.
put stuff there just randomly just because you want to. All of them have some kind of a purpose. And I think that's the most important thing to do when you are doing a portfolio is like
Hmm.
like you said, like you don't want to put everything. Some stuff that you use there needs to have a purpose. and it needs to be very much intentional. And that's how like you can communicate, and then after, the most important thing is you need to create that intrigue. Like someone has to be
Yeah.
curious from those drawings and from those renders, so that you can move forward with the application, be it internship or be it applying for the school.
So, yeah.
So yeah, I think your portfolio is really good. I really love your portfolio, and that was one of the reason I wanted you to share with our audience in my arc stories as well, because there's always thing like so like back in Nepal, we had a different idea for the portfolio, and we were kind of like never taught about doing portfolio this way. So we were mostly like you said, trying to put everything there and clutter everything up. So I just wanted to communicate this idea that even going to Yale, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't even have to be like the best of best portfolio.
No.
Moreover, like
Yeah.
you gotta have at least a project which could create an intrigue, and then
Hmm.
have a portfolio which has some kind of a sense of style or like differentiate from other, I guess.
Yes, true. Especially, and I feel like, especially for people, in our part of the world, there are so many designs that you don't see every day in the US. So always leverage that, even if it's a small, like the one I just showed, this, the learning pods. This is a very small project, but people really talk about this all the time because it's not something you see every day, especially in the US here. They don't really build like this. They don't, think about working this way. So if you have a project from that is very, local and native to where you are, don't be afraid to put it there. Don't try and put like, skyscraper projects but like they've seen enough of those. Show them something that is different, something that lets them think about it. Like, what am I looking at? What are these things? And yeah, I think even if you don't get the school, sometimes sometimes they can literally email and tell you that like the students are full, but they would like to, invite like either how do I put this? Sometimes they can defer you on their own that come next year because this
Mhm.
year is full, but they really like your portfolio, so come next year, and it
Mhm.
happens.
That's really
So
good.
yeah, don't be afraid to put on the really small projects because they can also have a really big impact. And also try and put like a variety of things. Don't put like 5 bedroom house projects on the same portfolio, even if they are all unique in their own sense. Like if I've seen a 5 bedroom house, people will just say I've seen them all. So try and put different skills and different projects and different approaches to how you also design the projects on your portfolio. So variety. Let them see what you're capable of.
Mhm. Mhm. So yeah, I think what I could add on this is like, so even in your school, like you didn't work, like you didn't have your best projects. So later on,
No.
you realize like, okay, I want to go to like Yale or MIT. Then you might want to rework on those projects and spend some time to create a portfolio that could take you there. Because like I completely understand that some people they are not very passionate about architecture on their initial years, and then later on they develop that passion, and then they might not have
Hmm.
the best work at that time, but you can always go back and rework on it because nobody's going to go and verify your portfolio that like you have done that or not during that school year, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No
you
one is
can
going to
definitely do
say.
that. So, like you were talking about the SOP, and I really like when you said like your SOP was a bit different and you were telling a story. And I
Mhm.
love the idea, like you said, like imagine the room of 4 by 4. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So can you tell me a little bit about your SOP? Like if you have that, I would love to put that in
Mhm.
description. If you are open to sharing it, I would love to put that down in the description. So yeah, tell me more about that.
Yeah. Like I was saying, generally the SOP. Well, this is more of a personal statement. I don't think it's even there. Well, regardless, I think I use similar, approaches both in the SOP and then in the personal statement. But yeah, you always need like, the first paragraph needs to be catchy. You need to grab the attention of whoever is reading, because people will lose interest that quickly. First three lines, and they're like, you know what? No, next person, because they're going through thousands and thousands, of applications. No one has time to spend 10 minutes reading your work. So the first paragraph, first two paragraphs should be really, really interesting. That will get them engaged, and already they'll put your work to one side of the pile to come back to and then refine. When they like how do you shortlist the applicant. So for me, how I started, like, again, it was like it was like telling a story. It was like, imagine a 4 by 4 meter room, single window. I think it was something like metal roofing that allows a lot of heat into the room. No ceiling. This is the house which I lived in. Already they're like, oh, okay. There's this person's getting at something. I think I continued by saying something like, um, there was consistent heat, no, passive ventilation, this and that and that. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was along those lines. And then I think I said, this is the situation in which I lived in, and then the area in which I lived, and already I was trying to find ways to make this living experience better. And already know that you have interest, you have interest in the profession. You already, from a very young age, you've been thinking about the well-being of people and others. And again, your portfolio and your SOP should be consistent. you know, don't let the portfolio look like one thing and then the SOP look like something else. So let it feel like it's the same person who did both. So, and I think I continue by saying that, like in the SOP, saying that I think it was like, this is how I wanted to, this is what piqued my interest, in architecture, and how I wanted to, like start designing to help people, because I was in this situation where I was very uncomfortable with, the living situations. And yeah, I can't really, honestly, I can't really remember how exactly it goes. I wish I could pull this up, but that was the route.
Mhm.
And then in the portfolio, you usually see that when I didn't really delve into that, but usually when I design, I always like try to design to the context, and then the people, and then the culture. So already they could see, that relation between me, like empathizing with, the immediate surroundings, and then designing for that, both in the SOP and then in the portfolio. So again, that's one note. Don't let your portfolio be someone else than, your SOP.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also I want to add a little bit on the portfolio thing. So I see a lot of people add pictures on their portfolio, and
Oh,
I think maybe some time ago that was a good approach, but now when I look at it, I feel like you should not put a picture on your portfolio. I mean, this is my
hmm
opinion, but still, like, um, because I don't want to want someone to judge me just on the basis of how I look like, because
yes.
and also, like, even most of the firms and even the colleges, they don't want to see the person because they don't want to have any kind of a biasness. Could be like the
Yes. No one wants to have a preconceived,
yeah,
like, if I see your picture, I already have, a thought about you and what I want to do. Either, yeah. So it's really, you're right. Don't put your picture on your portfolio.
yeah.
Don't do it at all.
Yeah, because nowadays it's like everyone wants to be as much as unbiased as possible when they are
hmm
like looking for the candidate. So I think that's another thing. And then, like, I really love this idea of storytelling in the statement of purpose and then the portfolio,
hmm
connecting it together. And I think that creates a complete package while
hmm
applying for the school. And so let's talk a little bit about your finding internship journey, because I know this summer has been very competitive in terms of
hmm
finding internship, because there were not many openings and very
hmm
few firms were hiring. So what was your strategy, and when did you start applying for your internship?
So to start with, I think I started applying for internship in March, late February to March. That's when I started like sending, things out to firms. And usually that's when people start looking, because By that time, people who are already in firms have like put out their notice that, well, they're going to leave by. People usually leave by the middle part of the year. So July, August, September, people start leaving firms. So putting your application in early at that point is really helpful. Um, but yes, and then what was the question?
So I was, yeah, first thing was, when did you start applying for the internship, and
Yes, so that
how
was
how was the applying thing? Because like it was very competitive. So I want to know your
mhm.
experience of like how many firms you applied, or what was your mental state at that time?
Yeah. So I mean, for me, because it was just an internship in quote, internship are not just internships are very important,
Yeah.
especially to finally like landing a job. But I felt like because it was an internship and I wasn't really, you know, too turned up about getting it. Like I did want an internship because eventually that will lead to me, the likelihood of me getting hired later on in the future. But also, in terms of like monetary value and then money, I wasn't too um, concerned because I already had a job in school, which is actually paying the same amount as the internship.
Mhm.
So I think it was like $25 an hour. So if I was working in school, I'll still be earning just as much as I was earning, in the internship. So that wasn't an issue. But again, I wanted to get the internship because I knew I was looking forward to something else. I can't stay in the school and work in the school the whole time. I need to, move forward with my career and profession. So in that sense, that's to say that I wasn't really worried, but at the same time, I wanted to get the internship for future reasons. In terms of applying for the internship, fortunately, and I think this is true for most schools, they usually have a career fair. So they have like people, representatives from firms come to the school, talk to the students. You can make some connections there. Always remember to talk to people. Don't just stand on one corner and then, yeah, like be shy. Talk to people, engage with them, make, what's the word, like make yourself known, let them remember you, that, oh yes, you, I saw you, I talked to you this day, and it was really, and always make the conversation interesting, because sometimes people just put in a referral for you that, oh, I met this student, his name is this. Check the application, list, and just pick his name out, and it happens. Like there's this girl in the interior firm in Corgan who also through, the career fair, this lady met her and she was like, you know what, just call me at this time, this is this, I'll put your name through. And that was it. So there are times that will be really simple and you'll be able to go through, but there are times that you also have to, put in your own effort, which is like me. So I talked to these people during the career fair. They'll give you like the website, the QR code to scan, put your portfolio in there. Usually, the good thing is that when they come to the schools, they usually like shortlist, not necessarily shortlist, but like they put a note on all those people who they interviewed in the school. So there's more like attention to you. So that it's not mixed in with like the 2,000 applicants that apply to the firm. Um, yeah, and that could get you a shot, but it won't guarantee anything. Sometimes they are looking for people with experience, which is hard, especially when you're in school, because firms, although it's just an internship and it's a learning process, they still need to be able to use you because they are paying you. And that's one thing in the US is that they are very critical about money and then how they let that go. So yes, that is to say that also in your portfolio and your applications, putting work that shows that you can be of use to them, and also like curate the portfolio to the firm that you're going to. A Colgan like I said, a firm like Colgan is very adamant about technical skills and then like drawings and then like production drawings. So you're likely to put more of that in your portfolio than a more design inclined firm that is more about renders and then design conceptualization and things like that. So always know the firm that you're applying to, and then change your portfolio to suit that firm.
Mhm.
So it's not a one size fit all thing.
Yeah.
I didn't do that because I feel like I generally have like a mix of both. So I just kept it that way and just sent it,
Yeah.
which is
I
not
think.
necessarily the best thing, but yeah.
I think I do agree with the putting the portfolio focused on what the firm is looking for, but at the same time, like it's very time consuming, and I feel
It is very
it's
time
not
consuming.
completely viable option, because
Mhm.
like if you are in a school, then I don't know like how many people would have time to do that. So I like your strategy more because you kind of have the balance of both technical as well as the design
Hmm.
thing, so that you can use the
Yeah.
same thing with all the firms. And at the same time, like for example, like you said, you want to go to just complete design focused firm, then yeah, I completely agree. Like you got to show your design skills in your
Hmm.
portfolio if you want to go there. But I think I like more of a balanced approach because like as an international student, we don't really have much of a option to choose from. So sometimes it's like
True.
you gotta just make most out of what you have.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
tell me
That's.
more. Tell me more about your experience in Yale. So, what was your expectations before you go to Yale, and how does it turn out to be now? So, what do you think about your experience up until now?
So first off, I'm like, oh, I'm going to a school, with very brilliant people, people who are like very, very good at what they do, like, geniuses in quotes. Um, I got there, and then don't get me wrong, there are really good people, in the school, people who design something or like make something. People are geniuses in their own right, in their own aspect. People are very good at fabrication. People are very good at drawings. People are very good at sections. So people who are like all rounded as well. Especially those who have had like experience, both in professional and then but who have been in school longer. But the truth of it is, when you go there, you still realize that they're still just human beings, right? They are not some upper echelon of people that you cannot reach. Whatever they do, if you put in time and effort, you can do the same thing, honestly. And then that's one thing that was both, I think it was a good thing more than a negative thing to see that I'm in a place where I can still compete. Like, I didn't bite off more than I could chew. I didn't like aspire too much to be in a place where I'll just be at the bottom of the class. No, you might go there, and that's the thing. That's another reason why I even chose the 3-year program of at Yale, because there's a 2-year master's and a 3-year master's. Because I felt like I needed that first year to adjust to how people do things at Yale and in the US in general, because how we approach things in Ghana in terms of design is very technical. How efficient is it? Is it how practical is it? And that's how you design, right? If it's too far fetched, the professors are not going to allow it to pass. But in Yale, it's way different. Yale, do whatever you want. The whole point is about the experience and the atmosphere and things like that you are given to the design and the people who are experiencing the design. It's more theoretical and more aspirational than being like practical in Yale. And it is good. Don't get me wrong. Don't throw away the technical aspect because you will need it in your work, your professional work. So definitely keep that. And even in Yale, at some point where we do design build, I'm the one who came out on top because people were like coming to me like, we are trying to do this. Or like when you're designing the house, again, it's a design build project for a client. So you actually design it and build it later in the semester. People are coming out with these ideas, which is totally fine. But honestly, we are going to build this thing. What you are thinking about, this skylight that is span over 4 meters, it's not going to work. Maybe in a commercial building, yes, but in regular residential building where people have limited budget, something like that is not going to pass. So that is where like my skills came in, and people were more like looking more to me to like. So people literally trust it. They'll bring a plan and show it to me, be like, "Do you think this is going to work?" And then again, I'm not going to say no or yes. I'm going to say, why do you think, like, why do you want to do this? And then they explain. I'm like, well, and you give them like the reasons why this might not be the best approach. So definitely keep the technical skills, but also learn, fit in with how they talk about their works. Because again, in Ghana, when we put up our work, we're like, well, this is my plan. The sun rises from the east to the west, so I put windows over here. In the US, people don't describe their work like that. At least most schools in the US don't describe their work. It's more of the building is oriented this way, to catch the northern lights. That's diffuses into this room, given an ambience. That's how they talk about their work, rather than saying that sun rises from the east and sets on the west.
Yeah, I
So
think
that is also a language you have to like pick up.
yeah, I think I completely agree on that. Like, um, it depends on the presentation as well. Like how
Hmm.
even though you are doing the same thing, how you present, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
difference. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, but that's true. How you present is very, and that's one thing I needed to get used to. That's the reason why I needed that first year to understand how they present, to understand how they talk about their work, and to understand the language of architecture here. And once you get that, you add your technical skills, and then you understand how they approach design here. You already like move up ranks, and then be there. And now, when you even apply your technical skills to those, then you're like all rounded. Your work makes absolute sense because those people who are reviewing your works are actually in the professional world. You understand?
Mhm.
So don't forget that they are not like they know that things should be able to build, and if you're able to exhibit these same qualities of being able to explain your work very efficiently, and then also having a work that is not too practical but like just good enough that you can see that well this can be built somewhere. People already I have friends who have been hired by professors just from their presentation because the work was really good, both technically and then conceptually. So keep that skill.
Mhm. And I think one of the most important thing of not most, I would say most lucrative thing of going to college like Yale or MIT, it's also like even the professors, they would be like a practicing people there. So
Yes.
it helps a lot if you really do good in class, then you could already have an internship. And
Yes.
I now like I went for a 2 years program, but now you're talking about 3 years program. That how helpful it was for you to like first settle down on your first year. I kind of feel
Hmm.
like yes, most of the international student, if they really want to practice architecture here, I think 3 years program it make more sense because on first
Hmm.
year, if you directly come for a second year like me, like you have to find internship for your summer. Like there is no option.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like you won't be able to find job later on. Like it would be very hard.
Hmm.
So, like if you have your 3 years program, then on your first year you could understand and learn the language of architecture here, and then on your first year you could go for internship, or like it doesn't even matter if you don't go. You could do something else, but you can build on it.
Yeah.
And then on second year, you will definitely find your internship because you are already 2 years in the US and you will already understand the language and the construction style and the construction ideas. For me, it was completely different because like I came here in second year and then after my first semester, I had to look for internship because like the
Yeah.
summer internship starts from May, but like our career fair, it was already happening on the February. So get
Okay.
the
Yes.
to get everything done by February, you gotta work on the December break or something like that. So you just came here in the US and it just been like a 5 month thing, and then now you have to find internship and you have to do so much within that time frame. And luckily, I found internship closer to my campus. I didn't get into like
Hmm.
very big firm at that time, but which I'm very thankful of because that helped
Hmm.
me save so much money so that I could pay for my rest of
Yeah.
the semesters. But at the same time, I that gave me a chance to reflect back on my portfolio that okay, if I want to get into like certain kind of a firm, then this portfolio is not going to work. Like I have to make
Hmm.
another one. That was a wake up call for me. So I feel like 3 years program, it will give you a little bit room to slowly integrate into that. And then you can like um, think about going into like firms like that. And like for most of the international students, I believe like they come to the US because they want to go for that bigger um, dreams, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
otherwise, like if you are really comfortable into like a doing something back home, then you won't really come to the US. So I always feel like
Hmm.
you definitely work hard. Definitely, you have to work hard if you're coming to the US and if you want to go somewhere in a like a bigger firms like architect firms. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. True. That's very true. But at the same time, I would say that the stock tech firms mostly they are good for the name, and then if you're able to get into one, getting a job or internship later on, it's also very easy because like, oh, well, if Foster took this person, then he must have, there must be something about him or her. Um, but at the same time, don't don't be down if you don't get like a star architecture. There are plenty of other smaller firms that do just as good,
Yeah,
you know, and pay just as well.
yeah.
So always look don't always look for the big names, although that is good. Put that in the list. So just like applying to schools, put the big names there, aspire to get those. If you don't get it, you drop and fall on something just as comfortable.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, same
Yeah.
thing for me because I did my internship in a very like a small firm, but I earned enough from that firm in 3 months that helped me to pay my 2 semester fee. So
Hmm.
I won't like discredit that as well. Like that taught me so much and
Yeah.
also like helped me financially. So yes, you gotta be patient if you really want to go for something bigger name as well. It's
Yeah.
everyone has a different journey. That's how we can put it, I guess.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
true.
yeah, I think we are like 1 hour into the podcast, so probably we can wrap things up. Do you have any like suggestions or anything who wants to come to the US and practice architecture or even like come to Yale? Do you have anything any suggestion for them?
Yeah, I'd say one, be true to yourself, be unique. Don't throw away what you already know because that uniqueness, don't try to be like those here, stick to, not like stick, but like be proud of where you come from and exhibit that because people do see that and people do empathize and people like are interested in that as well because people are just like numb and then too used to what they're already in and they are looking for something new, something like you're saying, something diverse. And that's another thing that schools look for when they are bringing people into their institutions. And always, aim higher, like aim for something that is, you think it's bigger than you. And if you miss, you still, fall on something just as good or comfortable. And always be, always persevere. Put effort into everything that you do. If you are in a semester, if you're working on a project, do the most that you can do out of that project and be proud of what you've done. Don't do it because well, I just want to produce these sections and plans because if I produce that, I'll pass the semester. Think about more than that. Think ahead in the future on what those plans and sections and the whole project can do for you later on. So think in the future terms. That's what I'm trying to say.
So, anyways, thank you so much for your time, Felix, and I hope audience from My Arc Stories and even from other people who are going to join for this podcast, I hope they learn a lot, and then probably we will come back with another podcast with a lot of information. And thank you everyone for listening. And thing is, we just got 1,000K subscribers, and thank you so much, everyone. And I don't know when this video is gonna get uploaded, but I'm just saying a thank you right now. And all right, then I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.